I'm Jeff Hunt. He's Bill Thorpe. It's Thursday. Billy out today. He'll be back tomorrow. Don't worry. But good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned in to the Jeff and Bill Show. News Talk 710 KNUS. We are Denver's top talk station where you're invited to be a part of the conversation. This isn't just a monologue. Someone responding to voicemails. This is a discussion show. So no matter where you are in the political spectrum, right, left, or center, give us a call. Join the conversation at 303-696-1971 or text us on the Dan Capitalist Law text line at 720-819-5115. We got a lot today. We got a whole lot today. Jeff Crank's going to be joining us here in just a few minutes. Congressman representing the Colorado Springs area, live from Washington, D.C. He'll give us the update on everything happening over there. We'll talk the Iranian protests. Chris Murray, 1st and 14th Law, one of Colorado's top election law specialists, will be live in studio in the 7 o'clock hour as we review Tina Peters' oral arguments before a court of appeals last night. What happened? How did it go? Chris will join us to give us the latest on that. David Oleski, hide your pot, Kelly. David Oleski, special agent in charge, Rocky Mountain Field Division, will be live in studio as the DEA has a record-breaking year. Not in a good way. There's so much fentanyl in the state of Colorado that they're breaking records in 2025. He's going to give us the latest on that in the 8 o'clock hour. And then Janik Joshi, candidate for U.S. Senate, challenging John Hickenlooper, will be live in studio in the 9 o'clock hour. Most importantly, though, we want to hear from you, so join the conversation, especially with Billy out today. I especially need my progressive listeners to jump right in, give us a call, and defend the progressive worldview here in Colorado. Would love to hear from you. Now it's time, though, for the news.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
Hey, good Thursday morning. 30 and clear conditions in Denver. Expecting a high of 60 today. News sponsored by Pastor Camp Heating and Air Conditioning at 303-777-1234 to learn more about special savings opportunities on Lennox equipment. Our top story, the UN Security Council being called together today as pressure mounts over Iran's violent crackdown on protests. The meeting was requested by the U.S. after reports that more than 3,000 demonstrators have been killed. DJT says he's been told the killings have stopped and there are no plans for executions, though unrest and international concern remain high. Xcel Energy warning customers that it could shut off power to parts of northern Colorado starting Friday to reduce wildfire risk during dangerous weather. It could affect around 9,000 customers in Larimer and Weld counties. The decision will be based on the weather, wind, humidity, and fuel conditions.
Typically, that's handled by the gas station's insurance company, who would then typically subrogate up to Sinclair, who will ultimately pay for all of it.
Zach Hope, State Department of Labor's state regulators have now received over 600 complaints from customers and consumers who say they put contaminated gas into their vehicles. The state has released an updated list of 46 stations that are believed to have received the contaminated fuel last week. Customers who pumped that gas into their vehicles should contact the station they bought it from to begin the reimbursement process.
And we have had statements from them that they're committed to making sure that consumers are made whole. So that is the intent.
Those stations will then work with HF Sinclair to compensate customers. More information about the affected stations and filing a consumer complaint is available on the Colorado Division of Oil and Public Safety website. Some of Colorado's Democratic lawmakers have signed articles of impeachment against Homeland Secretary Kristi Noem over immigration enforcement tactics. Brittany Pedersen, of course, and Diana DeGette were two of dozens of Democrats to sign impeachment articles against Noem. The articles accuse her of violating the U.S. Constitution and federal law. Once again, Pedersen and DeGette, they don't care about what Americans want. They do the bidding of the commie globalists. And speaking of Minneapolis and all that mess, officials there, which is frightening when you say Minneapolis officials, urging calm after another shooting involving federal law enforcement in the city. Homeland Security says that a federal officer shot a Venezuelan man in the leg last night after he fled a traffic stop and resisted arrest, with two others also taken into custody. Both the man and the officer were hospitalized. The DEA says it has seized a record 6.7 million fentanyl pills in 2025, a 76% jump from the previous year. DEA Rocky Mountain Division's Dave Oleski.
1 of every 10 fentanyl pills seized in the nation was seized here in the state of Colorado.
Wow. A record 733 pounds of meth was seized in April, followed by 1.7 million fentanyl pills in November. A crew from the International Space Station has returned to Earth ahead of schedule because of a sick astronaut.
On behalf of SpaceX and NASA, welcome home, Crew 11.
The U.S., Japanese, Russian crew from the SpaceX Crew 11 mission splashed down safely off the coast of San Diego early on Thursday morning. It was the first time in the 25-year history of the space station that a mission was cut short due to a medical issue. NASA hasn't shared details about the sick crew member due to medical privacy, but says the astronaut is in stable condition. I'm Tammy Trujillo.
47 is set to meet Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado at the White House today. The Nobel Peace Prize winner will sit down with DJT. The president has previously questioned Machado's support in her home country, as he has also signaled closer ties with acting President Delcy Rodriguez, even though he is hosting her today. Nuggets continue to take care of business, 118-109 over the Mavs. Jamal Murray, 33 points. Bills quarterback Josh Allen, he's banged up with a foot, knee, finger, but he practiced on Wednesday and expected to practice today as the Broncos play host to the Bills Saturday, 2:30 at Mile High, of course, in the divisional playoffs. Broncos fans hoping that the bye and healthy bodies will be a huge advantage against the Bills, along with the Mile High home field advantage and the crowd. The Giants finalizing a deal reportedly with former Ravens head coach John Harbaugh. 30 in Westminster, 28 in Castle Rock, 31 in Denver. You're waking up with Jeff and Billy. Billy's off today, but don't worry, he'll be back soon. Thursday morning with Jeff and Blake Olson. News Talk 710 KNUS.
It's going to be mostly sunny to partly sunny and mild, getting a little bit breezy, though, by afternoon. Highs upper 50s and low 60s. Windy and colder tonight. A cold front comes in tonight. Gusty northwest winds, lows mid-20s. It'll be colder tomorrow. Upper 30s and low 40s with cold and gusty north and northwest winds. Colder Friday night, teens and low 20s. Partly cloudy and cool Saturday. Will stay in the mid to upper 30s. Down to the 20s Saturday night, warming back to the 50s for Sunday. Cooler Monday. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
That's the Alan Roach intro. It sounds a lot like him. I don't think it is, but wow, that was good. Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Billy's out today, but we got jam-packed guests all day today. Jeff Crank's going to be joining us here in just a second. Chris Murray will give us the latest on Tina Peters in the 7 o'clock hour. David Oleski, special agent in charge, the top guy for the DEA, will be with us in the 8 o'clock hour, and Janik Joshi in the 9 o'clock hour. But most importantly, we want you to be a part of the conversation. Tuning in now, live from Washington, D.C., is the congressman that represents the Colorado Springs area, Jeff Crank. Good morning, Congressman. Thank you for joining the Jeff and Bill Show.
Well, good morning, Jeff. I have to tell you, when you have that intro and it just says, Jeff and Bill, it's a little confusing when your guest's name is Jeff. I'm just telling you.
Right. It gets your attention, right?
It does.
Ready to go. Well, very, very busy week in Washington, D.C. You got the Clintons running away from you guys. You got efforts by the left to defund ICE. Give us the latest. What are you seeing in Washington, D.C., sir?
Yeah, well, first, let's start with this ICE stuff. And, the Democrats have decided that they're going to declare war on law enforcement yet again. This is, I guess, round 2. Maybe it's round 4 or 5, but round 2 at least of their war on police and war on law enforcement. And, it's disheartening. And, it's a terrible tragedy what happened in Minneapolis with Ms. Good, but look, it could have been prevented, and it could have been prevented by her if she would have complied with the lawful orders of law enforcement, and that's what this gets down to, simply the rule of law. And so, we'll see the Democrats seem to want to make that their issue, and it energizes their base and gets people on their side of the aisle all excited, and that's what they're all about. It's not about principle. It's not about rule of law for them. It's about winning elections, and so that's sort of what they're trying to do.
No, that's really important for people to understand, because we relived this in 2020 all over again when there were the George Floyd riots, not because the progressive lefts really wanted to address any racial issues or make inner city communities safer. In fact, what you found in the result of 2020 and the defund the police movements and all the riots that took place in inner cities was that it actually got worse for their communities. I remember reading an Anschutz study that crime went up in urban communities after the George Floyd riots, in part because policing took a step back. So the progressive left doesn't actually care about addressing crime, making our communities safer. They just want to win elections. And so they have these shock troops that go out there and they protest and riot and they create chaos. And people go, oh, my goodness, well, things have got to change. Clearly, Donald Trump's not in control, or the Republicans are not in control, and things need to change. And it's all done to just try to win elections. Communities would be safer if people that break the law, like illegal immigrants, weren't actually living in those communities. But the left doesn't care about that. Jeff Craig.
Yeah, no, they don't. And we've seen the list of some of the people they've apprehended, that ICE has apprehended and gotten out of those neighborhoods. And there's not a single reasonable human who would look at that list and say, oh, I want these people in my community. These are bad people, murderers, rapists, child molesters. These are terrible people that should be removed. And so, as you attack law enforcement and you continue to make it harder and harder for them to do their jobs, and that's my standard, Jeff. I look at the shooting. Let's take the shooting of Miss Good. Let's not look at the one last night. Last night was even worse, for these agitators that are out there. But the shooting of the woman a week ago in Minneapolis, you have to put yourself in that police officer's mind and position. And, he'd been run over once before, apparently, and drugged. But even so, he's in a car. He's given lawful orders. And this is a lady who is refusing them. They've been taunting them all day. They're trying to get traffic going. They're trying to protect their own safety as well. I mean, you have to take it in its totality and look at it and ask yourself, what would you do? And you can't put an unreasonable expectation on someone else that you wouldn't put on yourself. And to me, we always have to give law enforcement the benefit of the doubt. There are sometimes bad cops. There will be a full investigation of that shooting. Every shooting, there's an investigation. But look what happened after the last war on police that the left had, what it did to our communities, as you mentioned, but even to the police. There's many police who said, you know what, I'm done. I've done my 20 years. I'm retiring. I'm out of here. And we lost quality people who have some of the better police officers because they get tired of having to deal with the nonsense. And why would anybody want to be a police officer, risk their life, and risk, getting thrown in jail or getting sued in states that allow that? This is crazy. And we are playing with fire as a society if we continue down this path.
That's Representative Jeff Crank. He represents the great people of Colorado Springs in Congress in Washington, D.C. Representative, I've watched the left make these remarks. Why are we having such problems in Minneapolis? Why are we having such problems with ICE in Portland, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Denver? Why? How come those problems aren't happening in red states, as if ICE is like, we're going to go pick on the blue states? It's because in red states, law enforcement can cooperate. Like, I got to say, one of the dumbest things I think is going to go down in history, like when people look back at this time, is that when someone gets arrested by city police or state patrol or whatever, they can't just hold them in a facility arrested with handcuffs on where ICE can just come in and go, thank you for holding them. By the way, let's just now put on 2 pairs of handcuffs. You remove yours. Okay, now we got the guy in cuffs. Let's just drive the car into the jail facility. Now we put him in the back of the cop car, the ICE detainment car, and then we just drive away and deport the guy. No, instead, have you seen these videos? They've got to be some of the dumbest videos where they kick the guy out the front door of like the police department, and the dude takes off running, and ICE has to run through the parking lot and tackle the guy. Like it's got to be one of the dumbest. And then you have Democrats wondering why ICE is having all these confrontations in blue cities. It's because of that. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, I got to question Mayor Mike Johnson from Denver about that very thing because that happened, and we showed the video. I looked at the video, and I asked him about the video, and he continues to say, oh, well, we cooperate. They don't cooperate. Yeah, you've got somebody in custody in a jail. You can't let a federal agent come put handcuffs on him and take him away. And, the example I use on this all the time is, bank robbery. If you had a bank robber, that's a federal crime. It's investigated by the Federal Bureau of Investigation. You arrest him as a bank robber, say the police in Denver arrest him, they're going to take him somewhere, and they're going to let a federal FBI agent come over, put handcuffs on him, and take that bank robber away to a federal facility. It's called cooperating. It's how society works. It's what citizens expect. They expect the state, the local, and the federal government to work together to make themselves safe. But why not do that when it comes to immigration? Because it's a political issue to the left, and they're trying to benefit politically from it. That's the only reason for this nonsense.
That's Representative Jeff Crank. He represents Colorado Springs in Congress. Representative, it was a wild week. The Clintons, no shows in Congress. They were called to testify before the Oversight Committee. They didn't show up. Comer saying he's going to begin proceedings to possibly prosecute them for violating contempt of Congress. Do you think they should be prosecuted?
Yes, I do, because we have to have a standard. And more and more over the last many years, there have been people who have ignored congressional subpoenas. And the subpoena power of Congress is just as powerful and just as constitutional as the subpoena power from the judicial branch of government. And in fact, I would say in some ways more rigorous, right? Because it takes a committee to do it and those sorts of things. But we have seen that over time, congressional subpoenas have been ignored, except when it's someone on the left subpoenaing someone on the right. Now, as you know, there are people on the right who actually went to jail for failing to comply with the subpoena. And at the time, I said that person must comply with the congressional subpoena. It is the rule of law. Again, this gets down to the basic rule of law. You can ignore that and you can erode the rule of law, or you can comply with it. And this is no different. And look, they should come and they should testify and they should be deposed behind closed doors. They were all screaming for transparency. All the left was screaming for transparency on these Epstein files. Well, I voted for transparency. I never voted for anything other than transparency. Wouldn't it be transparency to have Bill and Hillary, or Bill Clinton at least, come and testify about what he knows about that? Of course it would be. But all of a sudden, the people were screaming about transparency. They don't seem to care anymore.
You literally have the dude floating in a pool with girls. You got the pictures. Hey, we'd like to talk to you. No, we're not going to talk to you anymore.
Right, because he's the former president of the United States. Now, look, I think there's a very solid legal argument. You can't subpoena the acting sitting president of the United States. There's case law on that, right? But a former president who, in a criminal matter, why not?
That's Representative Jeff Crank. He represents the great people of Colorado Springs down or in Washington, D.C. Let's talk Jason Crow. Speaking of investigations, the FBI knocking on his door regarding his video. Do you think his video with regards to don't give up the ship was seditious?
Well, look, I have said about that video, and I still maintain it was terrible. It was wrong. It should not have been done. I don't know that it rises to the level of sedition, but they should be held accountable for it. And I'm not suggesting that there should be prosecutions or anything. But look, he's fundraising off of this. I mean, this is what he's doing. He did the video. They used it as a fundraising gimmick to say they're standing up to Donald Trump. And that's what he's doing now. He's the one that put out, hey, I was visited by these guys. Look, there has to be a price to pay. That video was completely inappropriate. It was simply trying to put in the minds of our young men and women who serve in the military that there is something out there that the president has ordered that is illegal, even though they didn't name it because it didn't exist. There is no illegal order, but it's a little game that they play. And it is wrong, and it's very dangerous for our Constitution. And as I said, he never put out that again, no evidence of an illegal order that President Trump put out. So why would you put this out? You wouldn't put it out when Joe Biden was president. You wouldn't put it out when Bill Clinton was president. That's playing politics with our military when you're doing it for political gain. And it's wrong, and it's very, as I said, it's just very, very dangerous for our military. And so I think they should be held accountable. But look, I think we've also got to get away from using the Justice Department to kind of go after everybody and all of that. We got to focus. We got elections to win and the majority to hold in the U.S. House of Representatives, and we've got to focus on continuing to make the lives of the American people better. Because we've already done a lot in that regard. We're continuing to do it, and that should be our sole focus over the next several months of this 2026.
Representative Jeff Crank, he represents the great people of the Colorado Springs area in Washington, D.C. as a member of Congress. Let's talk foreign issues here. Lots to cover. Iran, Greenland, Venezuela. Give us your read on how President Trump's leading there in those particular areas.
Yeah, well, you kind of do have to separate them a little bit. Certainly Venezuela. Look, I'm a strong supporter of the president's effort in Venezuela. It is legally no different than what the United States did to Manuel Noriega in Panama. He was, in fact, Manuel Noriega was still in power. Nicolas Maduro was not in power. He was not recognized by the Biden administration as the legitimate leader of Venezuela, nor was he elected or recognized as the legitimate leader of Venezuela by the Trump administration. So they went in and executed an arrest warrant, and that's what they did. And they used the military to help do that. That's a common thing to do, and there's case law that proves it. And
that was, by the way, that was pretty amazing. Have you guys read like the audio attacks that they have?
Yes. Yeah, I will tell you this. I got a briefing, a classified briefing the other day on that operation. Obviously, I can't talk about it, but I can say this. When that movie comes out about that operation, buy a ticket to that movie, because that was an incredible, I think the most amazing military operation we have ever conducted, and it was firing on all cylinders. You know, we used space assets, cyber, you name it. It was truly an amazing operation, and I give the president to be able to do that and keep it all quiet is amazing, because keeping it quiet kept our servicemen and women in out of harm's way by doing that. So I think on Venezuela, I think he's doing great. On Iran, I gotta say, and I put up a clip on X, I think a couple of days ago, of me questioning General Keane, who many people see on Fox News. He's one of their analysts. He came and testified about a year ago on Iran, and I asked him the very questions. I said, it seems like we're at this pivotal moment in Iran where the people of Iran are rising up. And this happened happened before in 2009, and President Obama let the moment slip. He didn't help them. And he let many people down, and that was a moment that I think Iran could have had regime change. Look, the world would be better off if these mullahs were not in power. They were gone. They're terrible to the people of Iran, first and foremost, and so we want to help the good people who want freedom and liberty in Iran. And I think the president is doing that. I don't know what the tact will be, but he has lots of opportunities and lots of options at his disposal, including, everything from sanctions to, to cyber attacks to, military options that are out there. But we should not do what Barack Obama did and leave the Iranian people hanging there, because it's the future of the Middle East, the future of Israel, and the Middle East itself hangs in the balance. Iran is the sore thumb in that region. Most of the more moderate Arab states have decided that they're going to live alongside Israel, even though they maybe haven't said that. But there's one agitator that continues to push on that, and that's Iran. It's this Iranian regime. I think the people of Iran want peace. So I think overall those have been really good. I give the president high marks on those two things.
Will Greenland be America's 51st state?
Well, I don't know. I mean, certainly Greenland, it is a very strategic place. I visited Greenland. We have a military tracking station there. It's very important to our national security. It allows us to track incoming intercontinental ballistic missiles coming over the pole from Russia or from China even. It's really a very strategic place, and from a sea standpoint, a naval standpoint, very strategic. It is a NATO country right now. It is, it's part of Denmark, and so, we do have the assets at our disposal of Greenland right now. So, I'm willing to let the president play this out. I mean, I do think it does agitate our allies a bit, some of the talk that he has there. But look, I don't think there's anything wrong. Let's say the president were to come up to the people of Greenland and say, look, how about we offer you this package and you vote on it and decide if you want to become part of the United States. So if they freely wanted to do that, what is wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with doing that. And honestly, I think that's what the president's trying to do here is, try and put together an economic package that might benefit the people of Greenland. And if they choose to come be a part of the United States, that would be their choice. And I don't know why people get so agitated about something like that. So let's see what he has, and we'll reserve judgment on the rest of it, and we'll see what the president's thinking.
Anyone who's ever read The Art of the Deal, you can just see him negotiating right now. I don't think Trump's that complicated. I think he's been the same guy his entire life. Just read The Art of the Deal. If he was going to sell you a cup of coffee for $7, he'd go, the cup of coffee's $15. You go, $15? All right, how about $10? You go, all right, $10. And then everyone thinks they got a good deal, and that's kind of how it works. So Representative Jeff Crank represents the great people of Colorado Springs and that area in Washington, D.C. You can follow him on X at Rep. Jeff Crank. Rep. Jeff Crank, we know you're very busy. We appreciate your time this morning, Congressman.
Jeff, thanks for having me as always, and go Broncos, huh? We got to root for our Broncos this weekend. I'm kind of excited about that.
That can unite Colorado right there. Thank you, Representative.
It can.
Really appreciate your time. All right, let's talk Black Eyed Pea of Colorado, folks. Locally owned and run by Stephen Michelle. That's important to me. Locally owned and operated. My whole family loves this restaurant. By the way, follow him on Instagram. They're a really fun family. His daughter works for him as well. It's really a great family-owned company. Yours will love this restaurant as well. Now with 9 locations, there's sure to be one near you. They recently opened one in Fort Collins, so you can visit them at 807 East Harmony Road. This is the restaurant you want to take your family to. In fact, it's our go-to restaurant every Sunday after church. So keep it in Colorado. These are people I want to proudly support, and you can too. Take everyone out to eat at the Black Eyed Pea. It's home-style cooking, worth going out for. They make everything from scratch: ranch-style pork chops, mushroom Swiss chicken, ribeye steak, St. Louis ribs, and the Mile High meatloaf. They've got daily specials, senior discounts. The Black Eyed Pea has what your family is hungry for. The Black Eyed Pea also does catering. Your dinner party, rehearsal dinner, wedding reception, or company event will be a success when you look to the Black Eyed Pea. Hear me on this. I love everything about this restaurant. Visit Black Eyed Pea near you. That's blackeyedpeacolorado.com. blackeyedpeacolorado.com. We'll continue with your phone calls and texts. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show, Denver's News Talk Leader, 710 KNUS. Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Billy out today. He'll be back tomorrow. Just wrapped up a fantastic interview with Representative Jeff Crank, Congressman from the 5th Congressional District. That's the Colorado Springs area. Represents the good people there out in Washington, D.C. Says Clintons need to be held accountable for not showing up to testify. It's only Republicans that get prosecuted for ignoring a congressional subpoena when Democrats are in control, but when Republicans are in control and Democrats do so, like Eric Holder and others, well, just go on about your day. The Clintons not showing up for their congressional subpoena, which, by the way, was voted on bipartisanly. So Democrats saying they want transparency when Democrats aren't providing it. The dude floating in the pool in the pictures with the girls doesn't show up to testify. Yeah, I don't think you're being that transparent. Jeff Crank calling on them to be prosecuted. We also spoke on ICE, Minnesota, how Democrats are using these protests in an effort to try to win elections. It's not about peace in your community. It's not even about justice or due process or anything like that. Go drive your car. Block federal law enforcement operations. Create havoc with the belief that voters will try to get Donald Trump out in order to bring about peace. It's all a strategic political move. By the way, there's got to be a chapter in the Darwin Awards for driving and interrupting federal law enforcement operations. Like that should be a whole chapter in itself. All right, let's go to the phone lines. Mary in Wyoming. Good morning, Mary. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Hi, good morning. And when you talk about that, I was just sitting here boiling. We don't, when I say we're talking about MAGA. We do not do a good job of fighting back. I mean, they've pulled this stuff before, and we have no counter. And there is one. Why don't we announce the ICE agents? They have a warrant. We know that they're a bad guy. Why aren't they using a megaphone in those crowds and let them know that, hey, this is John Smith. John Smith is a pedophile. He's such and such, and we're, and that's who we're arresting.
I don't think they care. I mean, we all know this. We know that they know that they're going after bad guys, but they don't care.
But they don't care about the individual. What I'm saying, it would be great media exposure for them to announce, this is the pedophile, this is a criminal, he was deported 3 times, and this is who we've arrested. Right there, as they're arresting him, announce it, make it loud and clear.
But Mary, I understand that, and I believe that DHS and others are trying to get that information out. But think about the state of Colorado. I mean, if you rape a child in Colorado, you get probation. Democrats are always criminals first. They would rather, I think those people up in Minnesota, Renee Nicole Good and others, would rather live next to a criminal than a person that's a Trump supporter.
But it's not for them. It's for the media. And what I'm trying to say is, in other words, when that gets viewed, and when Fox and the rest of them are using that information, that announcement would do that. I mean, I just don't think we think outside the box. I mean, another one that's nobody's talking about is our deficit. And Trump made promises about that, and he's not keeping it, or at least that we can see. He talks about how the tariff money is being used on it. Well, then why not do something like the Squid Game? Have a great big bubble in front of the Federal Reserve, and then every month or whatever, they have one of these reports about the economy. 10%, he has announced that 10% of the tariff money is going into that bubble. And do you know that we have a $100,000 bill with Woodrow Wilson's name on it, that it's not available for the public to use, but they use it within the reserve banks? My point is, and then you have that tumble into it. So in other words, so if it's $2 billion, then $2 billion gets tumbled into with that. And we see it get billed like every time they do a big announcement on that annual, what do you call, quarterly thing.
Yeah.
Make it like a game so that you can visibly see.
I would like one of those
that
little
deficit is going
thermometers, as you raise money, it goes up
Right.
and up like the thermometers do. Yeah. No, I appreciate that, Mary. I think you're right. The idea of being a lot better with our messaging would be helpful on a lot of the issues that we're facing here, especially heading into midterms. Because, look, the left absolutely knows that. They know that to most people aren't sitting here reading detailed policy analysis and bills and those things like that. They're watching news as they're trying to live their lives. And so if they see riots and craziness in the streets, well, then clearly Donald Trump's not bringing peace to our communities. We need to elect the Democrats in order to bring peace to our communities. It's how they think. It's their strategy in 2020. I think it worked around the George Floyd riots. That's why they're doing it here again. They don't care about keeping your communities safer. When Barack Obama was deporting people, wasn't a problem. Donald Trump does it, though. Now we've got to stop them. We've got to put our cars there. We've got to disrupt. We've got to create all this chaos because people will see it passing on the news and go, we need to change in political leadership to bring about peace. And that's the formula. It's pretty simple, actually. Mary, I appreciate the call. Thanks so much. That's Mary from Wyoming. Her line is open if you want to jump in. 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Capitalist Law text line at 720-819-5115. From the city streets to mountain trails, your gear should go wherever life takes you. That's why at Modern Rugged Leather, every bag is handcrafted from premium, responsibly sourced leather. Designed to look sharp, last long, and tell a story of its own. Each stitch, buckle, and strap reflects timeless craftsmanship and is backed by a lifetime warranty because quality shouldn't quit when the adventure begins. This is really a beautiful leather bag. It's the most beautiful bag I've ever seen. You got to check them out. So whether it's the boardroom or the back roads, Modern Rugged Leather helps you carry confidence every step of the way. Modern Rugged Leather, modern style, timeless durability, backed for life. Look, life's going to take you places. Make sure your gear keeps up. Shop the full collection and find yours today at modernrugged.com, modernrugged.com. Again, that's modernrugged.com. We'll continue with your phone calls and texts. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show, Denver's News Talk leader, News Talk 710, KNUS. Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Billy out today. He'll be back tomorrow. Phone line's hot. Let's jump right back to them. Joan in Lakewood. Good morning, Joan. You're on with Jeff. Bill out today. He'll be back tomorrow. Good morning.
Good morning. I did listen to the Tina Peters hearing yesterday, and that was interesting. And the sad thing is that I cannot listen to the update because it's 7 o'clock. I have to go on a WebEx to listen to a meeting in Jefferson County for the Community Corrections Board. Now, if you want to hear what the Democrats have done in the last couple of years to protect the people who commit crimes, then you should see what's going on with these community correction boards. They are not voted in people. They usually have about 11 people on them. They have one for every county, and if you've been in jail for a certain amount of time, you can apply to these correction boards to be put into a halfway house. You don't have to stay in prison. So we have this man, his name is Houghton, and he is applied for this. He's applied before and we got it stopped. He's applied again. He murdered somebody and he got 5 years.
Good
5
night.
years. And he hadn't even been in jail for 1 year when he applied for the halfway house. Now he's been in jail for, I think, 2 years, and he's applying again for this halfway house. And the part that just stinks to high heaven is they don't do this meeting in person. The community cannot testify. You cannot testify unless you're a victim. And I have been telling everybody that the community is a victim. If you put these people out back on the streets after they've only been there in prison, it's just insane.
John, I want to ask you about this unique dynamic because I do find it fascinating, especially around the Tina Peters thing. It seems like it comes part and parcel with being a leftist, that when it comes to your political opponents, we're going to prosecute the hell out of you. Oh, you are going to serve. Justice will be done. If you were part of January 6th, I mean, the FBI is going to kick down your door. We're going to investigate. We're going to get every person. We're going to go through camera and find every single person that was involved with that and make sure that they do their time. And then if you go riot in support of one of their causes, well, then, we're not going to really have justice done. Or if you're a terrible threat to the community, we're going to find every excuse to make sure you stay on the streets. Why is it, do you think, that leftists are that way?
Because they want you afraid. This is an administration of fear these days. And they brought in all these Venezuelans. Why do you think the Venezuelans gang came here to Denver? This is the center of these Venezuelans. And I'm so excited that Trump got in there and did what he did. Amazing, absolutely amazing. But no, be afraid. Stay in your house. You talk about how the 15-minute cities are to make you less mobile and to put you into little houses and to make you more compliant. But they can't get us all because some of us have houses. So we're going to make you afraid to go out.
I think they don't believe in personal responsibility. I don't think it really exists in their worldview. So go back to our conversation yesterday about how only 20% of kids in 8th grade at DPS schools are proficient in math. Well, there's always somebody else's reason as to why they're not reaching their math goals. If you commit a crime, for instance, well, you weren't hugged as a child, or you don't have enough money, or there's always some other reason out there. And then they come to this judicial system and they go, well, this is a system we can use against our political opponents. So now if you're Tina Peters or a Jay Sixer or Donald Trump, for instance, the full weight of the judicial system's going to come down on you so we can keep you away. But when it comes to somebody that's raping a child, for instance, in Colorado, oh no, well, that's probation. We're gonna come up with issues. At the end of the day, the judicial system isn't about holding anybody accountable. It becomes a weapon in an effort to imprison their political opponents. Joan, I appreciate the call. Good luck today. Thank you for paying attention to those community corrections boards. I would love to get an update on what happens. So give us a call tomorrow. 303-696-1971 is the phone number. 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. Folks, let's talk gyries. There's gyries all over the Denver metro area. We went and visited the one in Parker and had an absolutely fantastic experience because my wife and I have been seeking to update our home, and we kind of do it like a little bit. Probably like everybody that listens to this call. You save up a little bit of money, and then you're like, okay, we're going to improve some stuff. So we had been buying cheap blinds for years, and they break, and then they only go halfway up. The little string breaks in them. So we said, let's go to Gyrie's and sit down with a personal design consultant. Now, I was a little overwhelmed at first. I've never hired a personal design consultant, and I was afraid of the cost. It's absolutely reasonable. Don't be afraid. And the best part, guys, is your wife can just ask questions and dream and design. Well, my wife was like, what do you want to do? I'm like, I don't know. And then, I'm wandering around those big box stores. Just, you have to go back like 8 times in order to get the right paint style or color. It's just a mess, right? So why not sit down with a personal design consultant where your wife can just ask lots of questions? You can get a total plan. Gyrie's has a wonderful, incredible selection of Hunter Douglas custom blinds, shades, and shutters. That's what we did in our home. And now I have blinds that go up and down with remote controls. It's amazing. And it's very reasonable when it comes to cost. So whether your curtains are clashing or you just want a fresh look, Gyrie's has the solutions for you. The best part, they offer a personalized in-home consultation. They come directly to you with paint samples, blind samples. They even bring lasers to measure everything. So you can get the same expert advice right in your own home. Do yourself a favor. Get started today. Visit Gyrie's.com to schedule your in-home consultation. That's GUIRYS.com. Go see the great people at Gyrie's. You'll be sure to thank me. All right, coming up in the next hour, Chris Murray's going to be joining us. He is Colorado's preeminent election law attorney with First and 14th Law. Tina Peters, yesterday, before a Colorado Court of Appeals, they seem to be seriously considering whether to possibly reduce her sentence. Was the 9-year prison sentence that former county clerk Tina Peters got unfair? Was it too harsh? Like I mentioned, it seems like Democrats are always willing to excuse really bad behavior that actually harms our communities. I mean, look what they're doing with ICE. Right? They're out there protesting, standing with Renee Nicole Good. And what she did, she was disrupting a lawful order. She is now a hero in their world. But if you're a political opponent, this isn't a reasonable sentence. This is 9 years. Puts her up there with murderers in the state of Colorado. Was it a fair sentence? Well, Colorado Court of Appeals heard those arguments yesterday. It was a 3-judge panel. And we're going to hear from Chris Murray as to what his thoughts were. And could we see a pardon coming from Jared Polis, the governor of Colorado? I mean, he commuted a sentence where a guy drove a truck into a whole bunch of cars and killed 4 people down to 9 years. Would he commute Tina Peters as well? All of this coming up in the next hour. We want you to be a part of the conversation as well. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show, Denver's News Talk Leader, 710 KNUS.